All right, take two. Welcome to another edition of Defo and 5. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie. Lubitz here on 5 Reasons Sports Network. And if there wasn't enough action for you over the weekend, I don't know what you could possibly do to satisfy a sports fan. Lubie, were you like me? I ended up gargling with Visine towards the end of the weekend. Because I get into playoff action. It's not like I don't want to watch the regular season. I try to find and attach some meaning to regular season games. But let's face it, especially when it comes to the National Hockey League, the regular season is, you want to go to a game? Okay, you take your kids, you buy a popcorn, you get ripped off in the gift shop. You go, hey, Panthers, hope they get a win if you're going to the home games here. Wow, once they get to the playoffs, all of these series have their elements of drama to them, and they're all at the stage where everybody is fighting. Everybody was kung fu fighting. The insanity of it all, though, is what really gets to me. And there's a lot of insanity when it comes to this Panther Bruins series. First of all, we thought after game two that it was quite possible. Remember, we were talking about, they weren't that badly outclassed in game one and game two. They won game two. And you're thinking, at the very least, they would make a decent showing at home against the Boston Bruins, who maybe were a little overconfident coming into the series. The Panthers have played them well during the regular season. We're one of a couple of teams that had two wins against the Boston Bruins, who had an historically good season. I mean, just more wins than any team in NHL history across 82 games, more points than any team in NHL history across 82 games. Rarely lost at home. They had four regular season losses at home all year, and the Panthers go in and win game two. And of course, this is the city of false hope, my friends. Insane to believe that we were right in there with the Boston Bruins. And after game three, you started to feel a little bit uncertain about all of the things that we said after game two. And after game four, you said to yourself, that's it, man. Flowers are in the punch. Series is over. Badly outclassed in both games played here in the Florida Live Arena, and looking completely lost. They made a goaltender switch. Alex Lyon had developed a little Dick Stewart, Dr. Strangeglove thing, had he not? He had that big first baseman's mitt. I don't know that anybody mishandled a first baseman's mitt as much as Lyon did on a couple of those shots by the Boston Bruins. They got by him. Other than Dick Stewart, the legendary poor fielding first baseman who had one of the great nicknames in all of sports history, did he not, Lubie? I mean, what did you think about Dr. Strangeglove, which was, a takeoff, obviously of a James Bond movie, but classic. And Lyon all of a sudden had a little bit of the yips with the glove, did he not? Wide open, nobody blocking his vision or anything. Guy would come in, sail a shot, look like a routine glove save, glove save and a beauty. And instead, right into the pipes there. And the Panthers were badly outclassed in both of those games. This is also adding to the insanity a couple of other things. I don't know what you thought about the last couple of games, except to be totally deflated and think that now you're at the point where it's Kevorkian time, where you're just hoping they end it in five so you don't have to prolong the agony. I guess you can never think that as a sports fan. Is there any possibility, in your estimation, when Mike Lubitz, that the Florida Panthers win Game 5 in Boston and extend the series, come back here for a Game 6? What do you think?
I mean, not now. I don't know what that was. Like, you played in Boston really well, and game two was strong, was a nice, strong victory. I don't understand how you come home and just lay flat both games. And then to put in Bobrovsky after Line was not a sieve, but he's had issues giving up, I guess Mayo calls them greasy goals and stupid
Couple
ass.
of easy goals, yeah.
But still, like, he's better than Bobrovsky. Like, Bobrovsky sucks. He just does. Bobrovsky is, you cannot count on Bobrovsky. Line at least keeps him in games. Like, they're at least, we'll get to 3 or 4, but they're in it. Bobrovsky will let it get to like 5. Like, Bobrovsky he just doesn't keep it in check. So you don't have a netminder at all right now. I don't know.
Oh, he was flopping around. You know when you bring a big fish, a game fish, into a boat, and they finally get it off the hook there, and they put it on the deck, and it's just flopping around.
Yep.
And that's Bobrovsky. I mean, he looked completely lost in there. Now you've been saying this, and I think you're correct. The Panthers defensively are weak, and that's unfortunate. And Tkachuk can't do everything by himself. That's the other thing. I guess you had Sam Bennett come back, and he made a contribution. Montour has been okay, but the other big question is, and what milk carton will you find Sasha Barkov on?
What the hell?
This is your team leader, your team captain. This is the guy that's supposed to be the guiding force. It's not even supposed to be Tkachuk. This was Barkov's team, and he's gone, man. disappearing act. I mean, on our all Houdini team, just vanished from whatever it was that he was doing. And then, the best part of it all, I mean, whenever you get a goalie involved in a fight, this Linus Ullmark now has won me over. I mean, he's in there throwing punches like he was Javante Davis going against Ryan Garcia, which, by the way, turned out to be a blowout, as Garcia not quite experienced enough or skillful enough to deal with Javante Davis in that fight. Which was attended by a massive amount of celebrities. If you thought boxing was dead, every time you think it's dead, you look at something like that and you go, wait a minute, how could that be? Sports thriving like it never has before in certain circles. But hockey not thriving here, and you're thinking the Panthers will be put out of their misery in the next game, which is what? Not till Wednesday night in Boston. I believe Wednesday night is the next game. Gives us a couple of days to think about it. The French Joe Philbin, Paul Maurice. I didn't realize this. Did you, Lubie? This guy has been coaching 25 years as a head coach in the NHL. 25. Where was he? Winnipeg? Where the hell was he? I mean, he had to be in some bastion, some outpost of hockey anonymity. No, where was this guy, Paul Maurice? What was he doing before?
He's been horrible his whole career. I don't think he's taken any. I don't think he's had one contender.
Yeah,
I'll never understand that coaching hire. I mean, that organization is such a disaster.
especially when you look at Gerard Gallant, who has lit it up in two different places since he's left the Florida Panthers. That seems to be a common thread, right? Anybody that we fire, Peter DeBoer, same thing. All of a sudden, he became like a championship coach. Gallant, we let this guy go. Jacques Martin makes that run with the Montreal Canadiens after he got let go by the Panthers or mutually agreed to part ways. And then we still have the leftover, I don't want to say stench of the Dale Talon era, but wow, this Bobrovsky was a huge mistake as a signing. They had what's the guy? How do you pronounce it? Panarin, the guy that went to the Rangers, the other Russian who was a hot free agent at the time, and everybody's saying, yeah, that's the guy you ought to get. And he ended up going to the Rangers and has had a good career there, although I think he's been plagued by some injuries. Bobrovsky came here, and you almost wish that he was on IL. So there'd be no temptation to play the guy. What on earth were we thinking? Now let's also give the stated fact, which is the Bruins, by all right, should outclass the Florida Panthers. It's just that they gave us brief rise for hope when they won Game 2, and then came here and just flat as a pancake. This is the only place besides going to a Chargers game in LA where the place erupts and you're thinking, wow, okay, we got a goal. If you went to the bathroom or something, went upstairs, get something to eat, and you come back down, you're thinking, what happened there? I just heard this crowd go nuts. And of course, they're going nuts for the other team. The Bruins score, would you say it was almost overwhelming? The Bruins fans versus the Panther fans in their own arena at playoff time.
I don't know. I got into a fight with our friend who watches our morning show, and I swore the one fan group that in the playoffs from day one gets support by South Florida is the Panthers. So that's annoying. I didn't watch any of
They
their
must
games.
have all sold their tickets to Bruins fans.
That's what it feels like. That's
You would swear you were at the Boston Garden or something back in the day there, waiting for the Bruins to bust out in the 6-team league. I mean, it was unbelievably overwhelming how crazy the crowd went when the Bruins scored, and they scored often. They ended up winning the game yesterday, 6-2. So we're going to go ahead and throw in the towel on that one, and figure if somehow by some miracle the Panthers bring it back here, the odds of beating the Bruins 3 games in a row off the season that they had and off the last 2 games that we witnessed are Blue Tarski, right? Are they not? 0.0 chance. Meanwhile, I mean, the team that we thought was going to get buried after they lost that game 2 in disgraceful fashion, the Miami Heat, come back and bounce back and win against the Milwaukee Bucks, who again were without Giannis Antetokounmpo. But at what price, Mike Lubitz? I don't know. They've already lost Tyler Hero. They were trying to use Victor Oladipo to fill in some of that gap. They've been using Duncan Robinson, who actually has acquitted himself pretty well. At least he did in Game 3. I mean, he's in there to make shots, and if he doesn't make them, then he's useless. But after being relegated to the bench for what? Ever since he got the $500 million or whatever it was, he's been sitting on a bench there. That's the most expensive seat in the house, is it not? Because it's costing the Heat money. Put this stiff out there, which, we root for Duncan Robinson. He's got a great story. He's the kind of guy, he seems very likable. He says all the right things. He seems to do all the right things. It would be easy for him to sulk on the bench and come in and be unprepared to play and give it everything he has, but he always gives it the effort. It's just, unfortunately, he's a very awkward and clumsy defender and really can't keep pace with any of these really slick guards that he's having to contend with. And basically, he's on the floor and he can't guard anybody. That's the problem. So, and you can't have that. I mean, this is supposedly playoff basketball, even though the scores are high, right? We're seeing games 125, 124. I guess what was that? Was that the score of the Golden State game or something like that? 126,
26,
125
125. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
against Sacramento. And so Sacramento is now in a 2-2 series with Golden State. But the Heat up 2-1 with just an absolutely golden opportunity tonight. Once again, we talked about this after game one when they won, surprisingly, and Antetokounmpo was out. We thought, wow, if they can get the jump 2-0 in Milwaukee, then they seize control of the series and will have a legitimate chance to do what is seemingly impossible, and that is as essentially a number 8 seed, which they were, knocking off the number 1 seed and the team that most people thought was on a magic carpet ride, certainly to the finals and probably to an NBA championship. Is it still Matthew Lesko time with Giannis Antetokounmpo? He's now listed as questionable. Is he coming out there with a bunch of question marks on a jacket there and telling you that, you can open up a coffee shop with government money somewhere outside of, some hick town in Nebraska and probably stake your claim to fortune and financial security forever using other people's money, which is one of my favorite tactics also, if you can get your hands on it. But I don't know. Speaking of other people's money, I mean, tonight, is that a freebie for the Miami Heat? What is the status of Jimmy Butler? Do we know anything further? I would imagine that'll be a hot topic on 5 Reasons Sports Network all day long. Jimmy Butler, who went down hard in a very similar fashion to Giannis Antetokounmpo and landed on his back. Did you see this?
Yeah, but didn't he
Mike
come
Libby
back?
Limits?
Didn't he come back in the game?
Did he? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I don't think he's
okay.
an issue. I think he can. I didn't watch it because I was at a wedding and they were up decisively, which allowed me to relax.
Yeah, I turned away from the game because they were winning handily.
But I think he came back. Like I know he fell hard, but I think he came back.
All right.
And I think he finished the game.
All right. So if he's in the game, you don't have Oladipo. I don't know how serious of a loss it is. You feel badly for Oladipo, man.
Yeah,
This guy has really had to struggle with injuries, and he came back from what seemed to be catastrophic injuries as far as his career went. I mean, it's not like he was going to be in a wheelchair or anything, but darn close to it. I mean, there wasn't any surety that he was going to come back and play basketball. And, a shame to see it because, it was on a play with no contact whatsoever. It was very Marino-esque, was it not? Where the guy's running, and then all of a sudden you go, no, are you kidding me? Achilles? But this was a patella tendon.
Kneecap,
Yeah, and gone. That's it. So 2 guys on the Heat roster that at least played. One was more instrumental than the other, but both out and knocked out of the playoffs. And the status of Antetokounmpo questionable for tonight. But you talk about a golden opportunity here. You go up 3-1 on Milwaukee. I don't care who they're playing.
Yeah.
You can find a way somehow to win a fluke game. All right, so a lot of excitement on the local scene. We're going to discuss the full spectrum of what was going on our show, the Defo Show, that starts live at 7 o'clock on South Florida Live. We'd love if you guys subscribe to that as well. And Lubie and I will have 2 hours dedicated to all of the things that happen in sport. There's a zillion, different things happening, just spectacular stuff over the weekend. And I don't know. Spring is starting to win me over, Lubie, as opposed to fall. Do I need football? That's the question. Do I need football to complete it? I guess you could factor in the draft, which has drawn little conversation here in town because we don't have any picks. But nonetheless, remains an interesting puzzle for sports fans to try to figure out, especially if you're betting on it. I love now, too, that in the middle of like tennis matches, basketball games, hockey games, even the lead announcers will have to say, well, you've got updated odds right now on FanDuel. And you're thinking that this is so uncharacteristic of anything that was happening. And while that's being said, the NFL suspended like 6 guys.
Yes.
Like the entire Detroit Lions roster is not going to be able to play this year because they were all betting their brains out. Holy Alex Karras. On NFL games, not necessarily their own, but supposedly nothing reeked of any impropriety in terms of trying to fix games. But you have a bunch of guys that, and a couple of them were nailed for betting inside the NFL facility, which apparently is a no-no. It's crazy, right? Still, I never forget when I walked into that Washington Senators locker room when my dad's friend took me to a Washington Senators game, and I was about 8 years old. Loved baseball, and there was the sign. I thought, why is that sign in front of the locker room? That betting on baseball is strictly prohibited. Hey, Pete, you can't read.
Exactly.
And I was saying that's an odd thing to hang up there, right? It's like you see that at the track every now and then. There'll be a little sign. So how archaic is this? That says, bookmaking is strictly prohibited on these premises. But if I mean if you know him, we saw this guy. Who was it? Ridley, Calvin Ridley. Was that the guy that got
Yeah,
suspended for a
yeah, yeah.
year?
Yep, yep.
I mean, the harsh punishment for this. It's almost like going to a Turkish prison if you're an NFL player and you're caught wagering. Why would you risk it? I mean, it's just not worth it, is it? And the Lions now being sort of downgraded because apparently a couple of these guys were actually instrumental in what success they had as they were starting to make a very steady and eye-opening climb as a team to watch under our man Dan Campbell. Who, wow, I mean, what do you think he did? After that, finding out half his team was suspended. It's not half. It's like what was it? 4 Lions, I think,
3 or 4
players.
guys. It's crazy.
Not good, right? Including top draft picks from the past. A lot of guys who were building the team around. Anyway, I mean, how hypocritical, how ironic, how ridiculous is it that these players are getting busted for gambling, and yet you can't watch 2 seconds of a game without somebody mentioning, "Oh, by the way, did you see that over/under prop on the number of assists that so and so would have?" You're like, really? You're betting on over/unders on hockey assists? That's really taking it to a new level of degeneracy. All right, we will see you on the Defo Show. Thanks for tuning in. Another episode of Defo on 5. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest, and we'll see you next time as we'll join you tomorrow with the next episode of Defo on 5.